Chapter on tissues is over. What are we doing?
Yes, we are supposed to start.
Why do we follow? Why do we follow? Why do we follow? We are not teaching here. Why do we follow? It is not a chapter anymore. There in your syllabus. Check your textbook.
Actually, the UP portal is showing that today we are supposed to
portal is wrong. Textbook check. In the NCRT textbook, if you check,
it is not there.
It is not there. Why do we follow it? It is not there in the syllabus at all. What happened?
Unlike then, nutrition improvement.
Improvement. That's the last chapter. That is improvement in food resources. So that is the chapter now left for you. That is in the second volume. Okay. You have okay. So now, chapter on tissues we have finished, no? Yes. Check xylem, phloem, all these we finished.
Oh yes,
You are done, no? Check with the topic tissues before we move on to the next chapter. Move on. Check first your notebook. Check your notebook. What was the last topic we had completed?
Ma'am, we were doing different
parts of plant tissues.
Ma'am, different types of
different
parts of a plant.
You just draw a diagram where all the parts were labeled.
Meristematic.
Ma'am, this one.
So that means we haven't finished the chapter on tissues. We have so much there.
ये वाला ना?
Meristematic tissues, I think we have finished the other day.
Yes.
So that means permanent tissues still there. Let us complete with that. Then we will move on to this chapter. That is improvement. Still a little bit more left on permanent tissues. Let us do that first. Meristematic tissues, what are some features? If you remember that we discussed the other day. If it is meristematic tissues, the cells are dividing rapidly. If it is meristematic tissues, always present at the growing parts of a plant. Meristematic tissues, they will always bring about growth of a plant, like increase in the height of the shoot, length of the root, formation of the branches, formation of the fruit, flower. That is the job of meristematic tissues. What is the location? We have written down also in the notebook. Check. What is the location of meristematic tissues? Meristematic tissues are present at the growing parts, the growing parts of a plant, or the growing regions of a plant. From wherever growth happens, meristematic tissues are present. From wherever growth happens, the tissues are always meristematic. So always to remember that way. What are the three types of meristematic tissues you had studied?
There was a science.
Exam. Already done at school. How is it?
It was
What question came? They asked us to
It was
draw.
40 mark paper.
no 20 marks.
It was it.
They asked us some question wherein they asked for drawing the animal cell, and what statement was given. Both contains genetic material. So what was the answer for that? Mitochondria.
No, nucleus.
Nuclear. I wrote both of them.
No, it was only
Okay,
nucleus.
sure.
Half mark.
Part of the cell which contains genetic material.
Genetic
How
material.
can that be mitochondria?
Mitochondria, right?
How can that be mitochondria?
That's why I labeled both the. I did nucleus also and mitochondria also, but I wasn't sure.
You give it out to the teacher. You decided you give marks.
Yeah, actually maybe.
You should not do that. You'll get a big under there. Don't write two answers for any question. Even in the boards, never write two answers for any question. You should be confirmed. You have a doubt, not a problem. Now you do. If you have a doubt of losing marks, then also write only one answer. Don't write two answers. Okay.
Nucleus is correct. Right?
Nucleus is correct.
I don't. Actually, I asked. She said she'll give if you have drawn the diagram well, then she'll give.
The question is about the diagram or answer to write.
Diagram plus answer. Like you have to label them also.
Draw the diagram. So for diagram drawing, you may get some mark, but The rule is, the board rule is, when you write two answers for one question, even if one answer is right, we don't give you mark. Understood? So that's the reason always only one answer to write. The board, now that you're moving towards the 10th also, to remember not to write two answers for any one question. Now in the 9th she may give you. So that way. So what are we doing? Permanent issues. Let us talk about that. What about you? All correct? Very good.
आंसर के लिखा दिया बुलेट वाले का
कौन सा बुलेट हो गया?
फिजिक्स वाला
मास का है आंसर।
और
मैं तो बस वही लिख के
लिखने के मार्क्स नहीं मिल रहा
मिल रहा है, मैंने पूछा नाम से।
इनर्शिया में मेंशन किया
लिखिए।
नहीं
क्या किया?
ठीक है।
हाँ क्या?
It will still round up to be full.
हाँ?
नहीं होता
अभी वो
राउंड
नहीं
अप
पता।
फुल मतलब हाफ मार्क का एरर है।
I asked my mom if this much is.
स्मार्ट है वो राउंड अप फुल में वो तो हाफ मार्क ऐसे
No,
नहीं
no, no.
होता है।
I asked.
डिफॉल्ट मिल जाना है।
I asked my mom if this is correct. She said yes, I will give you 1 mark.
और CBSE में 0.25 में भी मार्क्स देते हैं ना।
अरे मैं कहा कि नहीं
देते हैं।
CBSE में
CBSE में
राउंड अप हो जाएगा उसके बाद।
टोटल में जाके राउंड अप होता है।
फिर आपसे पूछ जाता है
फिजिक्स है, केमिस्ट्री है, बायोलॉजी है, इंडिविजुअली राउंड अप नहीं होगा। जैसे 6.25 है, दूसरे में 7 मतलब फिजिक्स में अगर तुमको मिला है 7.5 तो कितना हो गया? 12 13.75 हो गया। Then it's not 6.25 है तो बायोलॉजी में 7। इसमें
टोटलिंग करते वक्त जो आएगा हाफ
टोटल में फिर वो 0.5 या तो 0.25 जो भी होता है, ऐसा होता है एक्चुअली। टिपिकल ऐसे होता है।
देखो कितना आ रहा है पेशा।
अरे
मुझे तो नहीं।
Who is absent today? Some are absent.
मैंने याद
हाँ, क्यों?
मैम सई, स्वराली, प्रीशा, गोपाल, विहान एंड इसका 10।
पर क्यों इतने सारे absent क्यों है? Exams है?
मैम फ्राइडे को कोई नहीं आता, सब सोते हैं मैम स्कूल
क्यों? सैटरडे तो सोना ही है सारा दिन।
सैटरडे स्कूल से
अरे मेरी भी स्कूल है कल।
मेरी नहीं है, मेरी भी नहीं है।
सैटरडे स्कूल है?
मैम ओनली फॉर
Which
I have school every
Which
Saturday.
school?
DPS.
All Saturdays.
पूरा एक
Is it
Means
working?
it is. I have NCC on every Saturday.
So
But
that is your
normal school
normal
is
school
only
is also there.
Normal school only on first and third Saturday.
Still, why Saturday?
So that is a question. Why Saturday? But
तुम्हारी स्कूल शुरू
सारे
होती है।
Saturdays थोड़ी है।
कितने शुरू हुई है?
It's 7:15 तक पहुंचा.
भाई मेरी तो 7 बजे शुरू होती है।
Now, when we are talking about next, what happened?
Back.
बाद में उठा लेना। चलो, we are now talking about the types of permanent tissues. We'll first of all try understanding some differences between meristematic and permanent. Meristematic you know now. Meristematic cells will be always small. They will be dividing very fast. They will always help in growth of the cell, growth of the plant parts. The growth can be in the form of increasing the height of a shoot, length of a root, help in the growth of the branches, leaves, etc. That way, no? Here, the first type of permanent tissues I talk about. Then, what are some differences of permanent tissues with meristematic? Talking about now the permanent tissues. What are some features to understand permanent tissues? Number 1, the cells are dead. The cells are dead or living. The cells are dead or living, meaning all cells are not living. All cells are not living. The moment I write cells are dead, meaning most of these cells, they have lost the power of cell division. Most of these cells, they have lost the power of cell division. Next is, they cannot divide. They cannot divide. And formed from, and from where? If they are not able to divide, then how are they formed? They are formed from the meristematic cells. Next is they form the bulk of the plant. They form the bulk of the plant. Now, what are some of these features that I mentioned right now? I said, yes.
Ma'am, you already did this.
This part already done.
Yes, ma'am.
Which part? Then did we start with parenchyma?
Ma'am, last we did till.
Ma'am, we had to start with xylem and phloem.
Last we did till
Permanent. Permanent. We completed. Yes.
Yes,
Fifth
ma'am.
issue.
permanent we did. We started.
Yes.
We just started with this basic concept. So permanent tissues, I said the other day. What are some general features? Now let us go through this again. The general features of permanent tissues are, the first one, the cells are not rapidly dividing cells as meristematic. They are dead or sometimes living cells. Even if they are living, they are not fast dividing like meristematic. Second, if they are not dividing themselves, then how do they develop? How do they come into existence? They are always formed from meristematic cells. So that was the diagram that I gave you the other day. That every meristematic cell, now that they start dividing, every time one meristematic cell will divide to form two cells, but not necessarily both the two cells will again continue the process of division. Out of these two, one will continue the process of division and the other one will become mature and form permanent. That is the diagram that we have drawn that way. So that's why I say that these permanent tissues, they cannot divide, but they are constantly formed from the meristematic. Second is they form the bulk of the plant, meaning if I talk about any particular plant, the major part of the plant, let us try understanding that for any plant, the branches and then the leaves. So when I talk about the branches and the leaves, where is meristematic? If this is the part of the plant where the leaves are there, the flowers are there, then we have to understand that where would the different type of tissues be there. To look into the location, where is the permanent? The permanent is present in the root. What about the entire root structure? The permanent is present in the root. The permanent is present in the leaf. The permanent is present in the flower also. The permanent is present in the branches also, in all the upper parts of the plant. So that is the meaning. The permanent tissues are formed all over in the plant. Rather, meristematic regions are only in certain locations. Meristematic tissues are just in certain locations. Permanent tissues are overall present in the plant. The entire root, the leaf, the seed, the fruit, entire thing is all permanent. Then again the question that if permanent tissues form the bulk and they are not dividing, then what is the contrast that we are talking about? The contrast is they are not capable of division on their own, but constantly they are formed from the meristematic, and that's why we say that they form the bulk of the plant. What type of functions do they perform? The meristematic cells, what type of functions do they perform? They perform some common functions, basic functions to understand of the meristematic tissues. The permanent tissues. Number one, storage. Number two, protection. Number three, transport. So there are some common functions that the permanent tissues perform. What are those functions? Just general we are studying right now. We will talk about specific one after the other. General functions of the permanent tissues are what? The general functions, either they are involved in storage, or they are involved in protection, or they are involved in transport. So these are the common functions. Let us talk about the types now. The permanent tissues, let us just look at the category, then we go one by the other. The types. What are the types of permanent tissues? Number one, simple permanent. Number 2, complex permanent. Simple permanent, how many types? Simple permanent, 3 types. Parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So, simple permanent, 3 types. What about the complex permanent? The complex permanent that we talk about, 2 types of complex permanent tissues, the xylem and the phloem. What are the types? Get acquainted with the names, the words. Simple permanent tissues, how many types? 3 types. What is the meaning of simple permanent? The cells are all of the same type. What is the meaning of simple permanent tissues? Permanent tissues where the cells are all of the same type. That is permanent, simple permanent tissues. What is the meaning of complex permanent then? Complex permanent means the cells are not of the same type, but the cells are of 2, 3 different types. So if the cells are of the same type, it is simple permanent. Types are which ones? Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And the types of cells are 2, 3, 4, many. Complex permanent. Examples are xylem and phloem. Let us talk about the types of the tissues now. Under what heads are we supposed to study this part of the chapter? We are supposed to study the part of the chapter under just few parameters. The type name we have to remember. Location, in which part of the plant it is present, to remember. And special feature of the cell. Let's talk about the structure. The basic structure of this type of tissue to remember. And 1 or 2 functions. So let us go ahead. The first one. The first type of tissues that we talk about is simple permanent. Which one? Let us start with the first type of simple permanent tissues, that is parenchyma. The figure that I am showing you here. The image of parenchyma you get to see here. Now, first of all, let me tell you that where is the parenchyma tissue present? I would say parenchyma is present in the leaf, it is present in the root, it is present in the stem, it is present in the fruit, and many more to write. The fruits that you eat, it's all parenchyma. The banana, the pear, the mango that you eat, it's all parenchyma, simple parenchyma. Then, when we are talking about the stem and the root, that is all simple parenchyma. The potato and the radish and the carrot, all parenchyma. So any fruit you can remember, any crop you can remember, any leaf you can remember, the spinach and the cabbage, any leaf you can remember, or the non-edible leaves, any leaf you talk about, it's all parenchyma. The bulk of the plant is parenchyma. The major part of the plant is parenchyma. The seeds and the grains, parenchyma. What type of tissue in the rice and the maize, parenchyma. So I'm saying that what are the locations? The locations are many. You have to just remember that it is overall the entire plant almost. So 80% of the plant is all parenchyma. Major part of the tissue for a plant. Structure. Let us look into the structure. Now it is a plant tissue, so definitely the cells will have the typical plant structure. What are the basic parts of a plant cell? The cell wall, the vacuole, then the cell membrane. So all these parts are as it is there, plastids. So if it is a plant cell, supposed to have all the components of a plant cell, and yes, it has. Something to take a note is that between the cells there are gaps. Can you see?
Yes.
Between the cells there are gaps. What are these gaps called? Intercellular spaces. So presence of intercellular space is a feature of the parenchyma only. So I'm talking about that, yes, the cells are more or less cylindrical, rectangular. or variable shape. See, if I show you the horizontal cutoff, meaning this is known as the cross section of any. If I take the root and cut it this way, this is known as the cross section. And if I take it and cut it vertical, this is known as the longitudinal section. So now, whether I look into the longitudinal section or I look into the cross section, everywhere I get to see that the cells are not absolutely compact. The cells have got gaps in between. Is not so? There are gaps in between. So structure, when we are talking about the structure, the cell shapes, the cells are of variable shapes, polygonal. What is the meaning of polygonal? Shapes are not definite. Not necessarily they have to be hexagonal, not necessarily they have to be spherical, variable shapes are there. But spaces are present. So intercellular spaces present. What about the cell wall? The cell wall is thin. What is the cell wall of the plant cell made up of?
Of the plant cell.
Cellulose. Cellulose. The cell wall made up of sugar, known as cellulose. It's a tough, complex sugar. And here also, the cell wall is made up of cellulose. Then the vacuole, is the vacuole present? Yes, the vacuole is present. Present, filled with the sap. What was sap? What was sap?
A small version of
Small version of
a tree.
a tree.
It's a liquid.
It's a
It's
starch
liquid
in the
form.
whole.
नहीं
Sap.
बोलो.
I remember
It's this back.
Vacuole is filled with.
Full of sap. I still know that. So
Ah,
actually
so-
about 50 to 90% of the vacuole.
I
know.
रट्टा नहीं मारना है.
No, no,
साइंस
नहीं
रट्टा
मारना.
मारोगे तो 10th में जाके कुछ नहीं समझेगा.
Mom, वो
If you continue here and if I am here, chapters that I explain, मैं 4 बार पढ़ाऊंगी, 5 बार question पूछूंगी. So you'll have to understand things very nicely.
amino acid.
कहाँ से amino acid? What is cell sap? Nobody could tell me the answer. What is cell sap? I taught you. Cell sap क्या है? हाँ? Last class में थोड़ी पढ़ाया था ये तो पहले first chapter था. This was the first chapter. What is the vacuole filled with cell sap? So cell sap क्या है? वो गैस है, लिक्विड है, सॉलिड है क्या? लिक्विड. तो लिक्विड क्या हो सकता है? वो सेल सैप जो प्लांट सेल के अंदर है. What can it be? हाँ?
How can it be
साइटोप्लाज्म तो बाहर है, वेक्यूल के बाहर, that is साइटोप्लाज्म. तो वेक्यूल के अंदर क्या है? What did you study? What did you learn? क्या हो सकता है उसके अंदर?
I remember lysosomes. Ma'am, when we cut a plant, ma'am, the white liquid that comes out, and what is that? Cell sap.
Whenever you are cutting a plant, that depends by the number of times. It can be the latex, the gum also. And अगर whitish है तो वो gum है. अगर transparent liquid है, then it is sap.
हाँ तो वही तो बोल रहे हैं.
Mango chutney सब हो गया. Tell me what is sap?
Liquid.
Fluid consisting of water and minerals. The fluid consisting of water, minerals inside the vacuole, that is known as sap, जो plant cell को complete एक consistency देता है, shape देता है. So we had studied that vacuole. What is the job of the vacuole? What does the vacuole contain? Function, etc. Now, talking about the structure again, I said, is the vacuole present? Yes, the vacuole is present. We are talking about the parenchyma. Let us go back to the type. Which type are we talking about? This is the parenchyma that we are talking about. These figures that I show, NCERT textbook, where these figures are there. You'll have to remember. Now that depends if your teacher is asking you to draw and practice. You may give you drawing in the exam, but generally drawing नहीं देते हैं. But identification of the figures, you should be able to. क्या है? Alarm. Now, when we are talking about this, the figures are in the volume. I think nobody has the textbook right now. So volume में mark करो, that is very important. The diagrams for each of these types of tissues, very, very important. You'll have to remember labeling of the parts, but follow exactly here what is there in your textbook. For the 9th standard, pattern of question in every school vary. So you'll have to
Ma'am,
know.
there the syllabus for 80 marker also.
दे दिया.
Bio में first chapter is there, complete chapter. Last time only half chapter was there. So bio का complete chapter and tissues का only plant tissues.
हाँ copy.
अब we have both these chapters, first and second.
Better. If the next exam में you can study the third chapter is very long, very very long.
Ma'am, my exams are next month, this month, August 10th, my exams are starting. My exams are very quick. They are not finished.
This is now for Koda you just had one and again.
I am from Reliance. She is from Reliance.
Achha. Yours is again
Now end of August.
end of August and you had already one exam.
Yes, ma'am. One done.
For your also again September 1.
Ma'am, last month my exam started the earliest out of all of them.
So better if you are able to actually include at least one half chapters. It's always better. Suppose क्या?
birthday जाएगा यार.
What is it?
My exams is starting from 15 September. My birthday comes on.
आप मत देना ना exam बहुत celebrate करना.
Ma'am, it's coming on Sunday.
हाँ तो ठीक है ना exam छोड़ दो बहुत
देना.
celebrate करते हैं.
हम लोग भी miss करके दे party में.
So now when we are talking about parenchyma, the first type of permanent tissues that we are talking about parenchyma. Let's look at some functions now. So the basic structure we understood. Intercellular spaces and the cell wall. This is what will be asked. The cell wall, what is the cell wall made up of? The cell wall is thin. If you see the figure, look into the cross section. The cross section very clearly shows that the cell wall is thin there. And the cells are of different shapes. They have got spaces in between and the vacuole is present. And now the function. What are some of the major functions of the parenchyma? Number one, parenchyma provides temporary support to the plant parts. Provides temporary support to plant parts. That is one major function. Number two, it also helps in storage of starch. So for parenchyma, always to remember whether I talk about the stem or the root, the potato, a very good example to understand parenchyma. The potato that we talk about, the grains like the maize and etc. that we talk about, all examples of parenchyma, the first type of permanent tissue. So storage of food in the form of starch, a major example, a major function always to mention. But now, a specific concept here, we are talking about parenchyma. Let us look into some modifications. Modifications here means, are there any specialized form of parenchyma in a plant? Yes. The type of parenchyma in the leaf, they are known as parenchyma. The type of, let us look into the first one. The type of parenchyma in the leaf, they are known as chlorenchyma. First, let us talk about this. Parenchyma is the regular type of permanent tissue, but what is the difference between the parenchyma of the leaf and the parenchyma of the stem? If that has to be understood, is there any difference? Parenchyma of the leaf and the root and the stem. No, parenchyma of the root and the stem लगभग एक है. This is almost the same. Parenchyma of the stem and the fruit almost the same. But leaf में there is a special feature. I talk about the parenchyma cells of the leaf. Parenchyma cells of the leaf में one special feature जो होगा, that will be a large number of chloroplasts, because they have to carry out photosynthesis. So now that I talk about chlorine-chimer, why is it known as chlorine-chimer? Because they have a large number of chloroplasts. What is chloroplast? It's a pigment or an organelle.
Pigment. Organelle.
Chloroplast is a organelle.
Fill is a pigment.
Fill is a pigment. So now, when we are talking about the chloroplast is a organelle producing a pigment which helps in the process of photosynthesis. Since it contains chloroplast in large numbers, hence the name chlorine-chimer. So what am I saying right now? All these are the locations where parenchyma is present. But जो leaf के parenchyma होते हैं, they are little bit specialized. The parenchyma of the leaf, they are specialized. Explain. What will you write? The parenchyma of the leaf, they are specialized because they contain large number of chloroplasts. They are known as chlorine-chimer. What is their function? They carry out the process of photosynthesis. Understood? So what is the function? Chlorine-chimer, if I have to write down the function. No, for chlorine-chimer, the function is not storage of food, but the function is photosynthesis. The parenchyma of the leaf function thoda sa alag hai, apart from the root and the stem and the fruit, etc. There is one more modification. What is the other modification? Ye to ho gaya egg. The second modification that I want to talk about, that is if it is an aquatic leaf, aquatic plants mein kya hoga? If it is the aquatic plants, give me an example, aquatic plants. Lotus and
seaweed. Water lily.
Water lily, ठीक है. So now when I talk about aquatic plants, can you tell me one major difference between
The leaves are waxy. They are
the
waxy
leaves
covering.
are waxy and they are floating on the surface of the water. They are floating on the surface of the water. So now if I talk about big leaves, but they are all floating on the surface of the water. So but then these are leaves, they definitely must be having cells. Cells के अंदर vacuole तो जरूर होगा. It's a plant cell, तो cells के अंदर vacuole जरूर होगा. But यही same shape and size का, अगर if I take some same size and shape, some leaves, something like the mango and all, the mango leaves अगर ऐसे लेंगे, how many leaves? Almost about 7-8 leaves. So if I take some 7-8 mango leaves and put it on the surface of the water, what are you expecting? Sink or float? Sink.
Why?
Because the mango leaves are heavier. The leaves of any type of an aquatic plant. Now talk about the lotus. If I would have shown you about the lotus leaves are even bigger. तो एक बड़ा सा lotus leaf अगर हम पानी में छोड़ेंगे, and in contrast I take some 4 smaller mango leaves, the mango leaves will sink. The lotus leaf will keep floating.
How can a leaf sink?
Yes.
Ma'am, when it's submerged, then only it sinks, but otherwise it floats.
No.
Yes.
Take these leaves, any of these leaves which is bit heavier, the mango leaves and all, put 5-6 leaves on the water surface, moderate size, put on the water surface, thoda sa they will get inside the water body. They will not remain floating on the surface of the water body. Of course, they will not go to the deep layers of the water body, but they will start getting inside the water body.
And by time it goes. At first, when it falls directly, it does not sink. But after
But
time,
these keep
it goes
floating
down.
for
No, not after time. After time meaning in just 10 minutes you will see it going down. But this is for months. For months it is on the surface of the water. For months it is on the surface of the water. But this mango leaves, if I take 4 mango leaves, make a bunch of it and put it on the surface of the water, in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it will automatically start going down.
And then they also rot now because water of the cells in the
Rot?
rot in the sense that they'll go
From the greenish cover
So decomposition is a decomposition. They also undergo decomposition. That is a different concept altogether. But here we are trying to understand that why like this. If a big lotus leaf does not sink, but three mango leaves almost of the same shape I put together on the surface of the water and it is sinking, because aquatic plants, they have got a special property. What is that? The aquatic plants, they have got a special property. Let me just write it up. The aquatic plants, they have got a special property. What is the special property for the aquatic plants? We are still talking about the concept of parenchyma and trying to understand that is there any other modification? Yes, there is another specific modification the moment we talk about the aquatic plants. The parenchyma present in the aquatic plants, that is known as the arenchyma. Why? What is the special feature? The special feature is the vacuole is air-filled, not sap-filled. The vacuole does not have water. The vacuole has just air in it. All these aquatic plants, the big leaves also, they are very light as compared to any terrestrial plant, the leaves of any terrestrial plant. So if you just go by the shape of the leaves, I take one terrestrial plant and I take one aquatic plant, same size, same shape roughly, what will happen? The terrestrial plant will start sinking. The aquatic plant will remain floated on the surface of the water, because for the aquatic plant, the sap is not there. For the aquatic plant, the vacuole is there, but the vacuole is air-filled, making the plant parts lighter. Understood? So that's the reason we would say that it provides the ability to float on the surface of the water. This is when we are talking about especially a feature seen only in the aquatic plants with reference to whether the vacuole is air-filled or it is water-filled, sap-filled. Okay.
Provides
Buoyancy. BU, ability to float on the surface of the water. Ability to float on the surface of the water. So this specific functions you will have to remember. How many modifications did we talk about? Parenchyma can be of two more specialized types. The parenchyma of the leaf, chlorenchyma. The parenchyma of the aquatic plants, arenchyma. Let us go to the next type. So this was all about parenchyma. Let us talk about the cholenchyma. Where is it present and what is its function? We talk about the second type, the cholenchyma. Where is it present? Let us try understanding. The location. What is the location of the cholenchyma? Location of the cholenchyma would be at the stalk of the flower, then at the nodes of the stem, at the petiole of the leaf. So I would say if it is a particular plant, and the plant has got branches, if it is a particular plant and this plant has got some branches, and these branches, they carry some flowers. These branches have got some flowers. If I am not able to reach this branch, what normally do we do? Shake the branch or shake the tree, correct? So there are some flowers I want to plant, but I am not able to reach those branches. What will I generally do is pluck or pull those branches, pluck the flower. But when I am pulling those branches, is the part of the plant breaking immediately? No, it is not breaking. So these branches and the twigs and the stem, they have got a degree of flexibility always. We always come across, now say suppose now that the monsoon months, that also we have to take into account. Now say suppose the monsoon months there, strong winds, storms, etc. No? Strong wind would be there, storms would be there, and we get to see that the plants are almost shaking, no, on absolute two different angles they are shaking. Immediately they don't get broken. So there is a great strength with which they can resist the pressure, the force of the wind. No. So they are constantly shaking and bending and shaking and bending, and after a particular period of time when the force is too strong, they would break. But they are able to resist because certain plant parts are flexible. The flexibility of the plant part is always provided by colloidal. So what are some locations I mentioned? Locations are the stalk of the flower. Locations are the stalk, the petiole, the small petiole of the leaf. That's the reason we get to see that the leaves will be constantly shaking, bending, because at this junction, what is the tissue? The tissue is colloidal. At this junction, what is the tissue? Colloidal. So the junction, branch and the stem and the twig and the petiole, all these type of tissues are colloidal. Structure. What about the structure here? To compare again with the parenchyma, I already told you, almost the same, but only that the intercellular spaces are absent here. Look into the figure that you have also. I'm not showing you now anything else. I'll show you the next class again. Comparing the colloidal with parenchyma, the structure intercellular spaces are absolutely absent. The cells are so compact. Cell wall thin. Yes, cell wall here also they are thin, but the cell wall is thin but thick at the corners. Thick at the corners. The cell wall is thin. Just look into this so you will remember. The cell wall is thin, but they are not only that they are thin, but they are thick at the corners also. Let us look into this figure. See here. This is how does the colloidal look like. Can you see the cell wall? Are there any gaps in between? No, for colloidal there are no gaps in between. Intercellular space is absolutely absent. The cell wall is at times thin, at times thick. At times thin, at times thick. Did you see? Some more figures I'll show you the other day also. At times thin, at times thick. This is because of extra deposits of cellulose. The cell wall is evenly thin. You get statements. Cell wall is evenly thin. In which type of tissue? Parenchyma. Cell wall is thin but thick at the corners at certain intervals. Which type of tissue? Colloidal. This is the reason why the type of tissue provides flexibility to the plant parts. We'll continue with colloidal the next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
उसकी आंखें और उसके लिप्स भी बहुत अजीब है। अरे उसने अरे वो हाथ छूटी
ये चलना है बाहर चलो। तेरी सोसाइटी में वो कोई लड़की है क्या? आलू करके आलू एक सेकंड
अगर क्यों जाना है
चलना है 5 मिनट हाँ तू क्या करिए कोई आलू को नहीं
ये मेरे को भी जो भी आया मेरे को भी चाहिए
खालिंदर भाई
अरे
5 मिनट
मुझे पड़ेगा अकेले बोलते मैं वही तो पीछे इतना क्यों अकेले